Morning. How's everybody doing? All right, we're back. I'm back on another live stream on the TeleDynes YouTube channel. Yeah, I've been crazy random schedule stuff this month, and haven't been able to do the live stream every week, but we'll try to get back into the flow of things. Well, hey, Walter. Oh, I'm glad to hear that. Glad to hear you're glad to hear you're looking forward to it. It helps me knowing that people enjoy this stuff. Of course, it helps get me excited too and want to do more of it. And I've been working hard on scripts and that sort of thing to try to been recording a bunch of videos together. So now then I just go video edit and tabs and all that stuff. So I get kind of a sort of an assembly line going. So I'm just doing one thing at a time, as opposed to I get bogged down with trying to get one video done, and then you have one video done and you did all this work, and you could have just organized a little better, like I said in my post Reddit. I finally got my ducks in a row, I think. So improve the lighting a little bit, so the next video should look a little bit better, I think, at least I think. And the next one coming out is going to be on the chord shape things that we talked about. And so it's really the guitar is so different from, say, piano or something, or other instruments that you can play a chord on, which I guess really, other than piano, I mean, I can't really think of anything else that yeah, ukulele or something, but the, a piano has, essentially, you have three notes, you have three different inversions, and that's the same no matter what instrument that you play. But the guitar not only has the inversions, but it has the shapes as well. So you can play the same chord, like a augmented chord, and play it up here. It's the same notes. It's just played differently, a completely different way of playing it. And knowing all these different shapes allows you to make smaller movements around the neck and changing chords, as opposed to having to jump down here and then jump up here, and and there are more in some chords than others that are more practical, and some that just sound better in the way it's played. So, for example, a flat 9 chord, you can play it like this. Let's see one that I can play the same. Right? That's an A7 flat 9. Or you can play it up here. I think it sounds better with that voicing. Or here, G versus G here. And that's because to play this one, you have to mute the second string, usually with your third finger there. And in order to get all that, I mean, you can do this, but that's not a flat 9. That's a sharp 5, or a flat 13 flat 9, I guess, if you want to. You can call it like that too. So that's what the video is going to be about. Just different types of shapes. And I'm just going to start really the basic chords. I'm only going through um, a few major chords and their minor versions as well as the sixth chords, the sevenths, minor sevenths, um, nines, and I do a 13, and that's it. And then I'm going to do another video where I'm not going to go into too many different inversions, but I'll just give everybody a quick rundown of other extended chords like sharp 11s and random jazz chords and things like that, just to have a reference point. Because sometimes you'll see a chord just randomly in a song and go like, oh my god, what is that? And how do you play that? Sometimes the chord block is there, sometimes it's not, or they'll play an open chord version of it or something that's sometimes open chords, they can sound good sometimes, and then other times not, especially if you're playing an ensemble and on electric too. Works better on acoustic for open chords, at least for me. It's just that with electric, strings are ringing out. So when you play open chords, those strings are going to ring out much more than they would on an acoustic guitar. At least like cut through the band is what I mean by that. Not they're still ringing out in the same way. It's just that it's more abrasive, I guess, with an electric. So that's that. And then, of course, I have my starting at the beginning series that's coming up. That I'm still recording all the videos. I'm trying to get at least 12 videos recorded. That way I can just release them consistently over the course of 3 months. And then that gives me time to do the next 12 and so on and so forth. And I'm just going to take it as far as I can take it until I run out of ideas. And then I had another series, an idea to come up with besides all my other stuff, trying to find stuff that's actually practical that I can do and get more content out there, is a theory separate from everything else, just theory. So there's no real guitar playing or very little. And then music reading for guitar. So standard notation, not just tablature. Because it's a little bit different than reading like on a piano where middle C is middle C. It's always going to be there. On a guitar, it's here, 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 and there. So where do you play when you read? So that depends a lot on the key, mostly, and whether you're playing in fifth position, third position, first, so on and so on, or open position. So that'll be something. Yes, I do that. I do that. That chord form all the time. So I hope everybody's had a good, with holidays and everything, and trying to get out. I'm finally out of that holiday fog, I think. So ready to get back to work. Now, I don't know why. I think it's just not approachable. Why people think theory is so difficult? It's really not, and neither reading music is not hard either. I mean, I learned how to do it in first grade, kindergarten. It's something that it's basic, just treble clef, but it's still it's an easy thing to do, to really play in an orchestra or something like that. Yeah, it takes years to get good at it, but sight there's a difference between sight reading and then just reading. I'm not a great sight reader. Like I can sort of kind of do it, but I can read chords, but individual notes it depends on the complexity. If it's a difficult little riff or line or something, yeah, I'm probably not going to be able to do that. Something really simple, yeah, the basic melody of the song, for example, I might be able to hack my way through that, but most people have time to practice it. But just the concept of understanding it, or the theory in general, you kind of learn both at the same time. When you learn how to read, you kind of also learn theory, and when you learn theory, you learn how to read. So it kind of goes back and forth. And then you learn how chords are actually built, which I'm going to go into a little bit in the beginner guitar series. And I might do a separate video on that as well, just how chords are built and how we build extensions beyond just your triads and your sevenths and stuff like that. Because once you understand that, then you can create your own voicings, and you don't have to rely on remembering patterns and remembering chord blocks and that sort of thing. 145. Yep. The 135, 145. Yep. That's the chord, and the 1-4 are that's the progression. But it's just scale degrees. So if somebody, it's 13 is just a 6 an octave up. 9 is a second an octave up. It's not difficult. It's just numbers. It's just counting up the scale. So we had a pretty good gig last night. A place called Narragansett Cafe down in Jamestown. Narragansett and Jamestown. And it's a fun music venue. It's kind of known for being a music venue, so it's always a pretty decent crowd. And started off a little slow. Time of year, January, typically not. You know. But by the second set, it was picking up quite a bit, and we had a pretty good dance floor and everything. So it was a lot of fun. We added a couple of new tunes because we did a surf set a week ago, and it's a lot of those surf tunes are pretty short. So we said, well, we don't need a PA. And I was, I'll just bring a speaker and plug into it, and if we have to do a couple of tunes, because we were going to do 2 songs, I Fought the Law and California Sun. And then those surf songs are quite short, so we ended up blasting through everything within like an hour and a half or whatever, 2 hours. And oh no, we need more songs. So we cranked it as much as I possibly could, but the vocals were a little buried. But we ended up doing a couple of other. It sounded pretty good though in there. It was for a fairly small room, but really cool vibe. Felt like a house party, you know. Let's see. So let me answer. Please rate my guitar to see how well it would do for Rockabilly Eastman. I'll have to look that up. It doesn't let me copy and paste the text for whatever reason. How hard it is. So what were you saying? How hard is that? I'm not sure. I don't know what that was in reference to, but something I said. Is it cold here? It's gonna get cold. It's actually not bad today. It's actually pretty mild. I don't know what it is, but I don't really feel the cold until it gets down to 20-ish. Then it starts to feel a little cold. Eastman. There we go. I'll have to switch over to that. Oh, basic chord stuff build. Yeah, it's not hard at all. I mean, it's just really a matter of you have your triad, right? And then you just count up, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. And another way to figure it out. So if you see a chord name without the diagram and you don't have the notes, then you can just say, okay, well, it's a 9. So then I just have to count up the major scale until I get to the 9. C, D, just keep going, right? G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then keep going. A. So A is a 9. And then you just put the A on top. The only difference is is that you just have, there's a couple things you'd have to know. Um, if it says 9, 13, typically with those extensions, you have it all. You have, excuse me, you also have to include the flat 7. So it's built on the flat 7. Um, the trying to think of the other way to, if it says otherwise, it would qualify it with like major 7. If it qualifies it with major 7, then you know not to play the flat 7. Then you would usually play the major 7. And if you want to play a 13, add a 13, but you don't want to play a flat 7, you don't want to add the major 7 in there either, you just want to add the 13, essentially that becomes a 6 chord. That's why people are, at least like theory nerds will argue over, is it a add 13 or is it a 6 chord? It's the same chord. It doesn't really make, it's just technically, I guess, if you voice it and you put the 13 in the middle of the chord and the root's on the top, then it's a 6. And if the extension's the highest note in the chord, then it could be considered an add 13. It's but it's the same thing. Hi, Ricardo. Hot and yeah. Excuse me. Yeah, it doesn't get too cold down. Next week it's supposed to get down to 5, something like that. That's a little cold. Um, the coldest I've ever experienced is -20. Um, in Vermont, that was pretty cold. Yeah, I remember I had to play up there, in Killington, and we were supposed to go into this, just whatever apartment where they had rooms for us, bunk beds, and they forgot to turn the heat on earlier in the day, and the door was closed. So the whole room was freezing. So we slept in our big winter jackets and everything. By the morning, it was warm, but that was interesting. But nothing a little bourbon won't fix. Okay, so I got the guitar up here. There's a couple different ones here. I don't know which one's which. Um, what was the um, well, for that was the -20. There was no wind really. It was actually pretty dead. Of course, we were down in a valley. Killington's kind of down in a mountain valley. But how do I do that? Since I've done this. Okay, so I got these. There's a couple different ones here. We still get frost on the windows occasionally. I mean, not that probably won't happen until next month if we get snow. We've had a little bit this year, but not too much. Oh, Killington's great. Fun skiing. It's I don't ski. I've never done that, but they have a great little breakfast place up there called Sugar and Spice, which is they make their own syrup there. Pretty cool. So I don't know which one's which here. It looks like there's a jazz box type here. Um, that'd be closer to this other Gretsch that I have, and then you have like a P90 version, and then you got like a double pickup um, version of it. This would probably be good for Rockabilly, or either one of these would be good. This one's cool. Um, I don't know what those pickups are. I see this is P90 specifically, but yeah, I mean it would work okay. It's the only thing with these humbucker style pickups. I'm gonna guess they're probably Seymour Duncans, but let's see if it'll do. Doesn't say. Or it could be their own proprietary thing. It's hard to say. Yeah. Is there a Bixby on this? No. Ah, this is, yeah, it's more of a jazz. This is more of a jazz guitar than rockabilly. Only I can see this looks like a floating bridge here, and typically that looks like the same type of bridge that's on my jazz box. But yeah, you could still play it as long as there's not flat wounds on it. Then it'll just sound a little more jazzy. That's all. Looks like it is flat wounds. Um, that's going to be the biggest. Yeah, you put some Filtertrons in there to sound, and put regular steel, you know, Diodario strings on there to sound rockabilly, for sure. um, the P90s version here would be more blues T-Bone Walker sound, but it's still going to give you that edgier rockabilly sound. Um, yeah, but the biggest thing is going to be the without going through all those changes, just put standard electric strings on it instead of the flat wounds, and that'll change the sound drastically. But yeah, really nice guitar. Yeah, I don't really have too many. I wish I could play some of these around here. There just really isn't guitar shops around my area that, other than Guitar Center, which they have, just a bunch of slop. So occasionally they get something good, but they used to have like the higher end guitars hanging up somewhere, whether it was a Fender, Gibson, or Gretsch or something. Now it's all the mid range stuff, and I would be cautious about buying something in a mass place like that. Anyway, I have bought guitars through Guitar Center, but typically I just ordered them through Guitar Center. Every guitar I own here is, yep, every guitar I've owned I've ordered. I ordered the Phoenix from Guitar Center, but it wasn't ever, it was just directly from the factory to me. Everything else I either got through Reverb or Sweetwater or something. Oh, the Jazz Box I ordered through Guitar Center. But the ones that are, I mean, they're hanging up in Guitar Center like this, but they don't have it properly humidified. I mean, I have a humidifier going in this room and in the house, and then of course I have a dehumidifier in the summertime. But and I check them, periodically to make sure you don't get the signs of something's off. With electrics, are a little, you only really are looking at the neck, but acoustics, there's a couple of telltale signs that you can look for if something is going wrong with your you have a humidification. Obviously, any cracks in the saddle piece. Um, Here, I'll actually be easier to just show you. Uh, it's another video I've been asked about. Try to do a little review on this guy. Um, yeah, obviously, if you see any cracks in the saddle piece, then you got a problem. But another way to tell is take your hand right here and just see if there's any kind of a bump coming up here, because that means the strings, it's pulling the saddle and it's pulling the wood up. And if it's not properly humidified, you'll get a little kind of wave in the wood. And if that's going on, that's kind of critical. Definitely humidify the guitar at that point. The other thing to look for is take a piece of paper and stick under the edges of the saddle piece right there, and see if it slides under. Yeah, mine's pretty good. I haven't checked that in a while, actually. But yeah, and if you notice it, if you do notice that, go ahead and the best way to humidify these things is to just get a sponge and, you know, soak it, wring it out, put it in a plastic bag, like a Ziploc bag, poke holes in the Ziploc bag, throw that in the F hole, in the sound hole, and then wrap the body in a garbage bag and seal it up, and then put it in the case, and then leave it there for 24, 48 hours, and then check it and check the sponge and see if it's dried out. It'll probably dry out if it needs humidification, and then do it again. And what you want to do is keep doing it until the sponge, after 48 hours or a week around there, it's not, it's still damp. And then it's gathered as much humidity as it possibly can. And if you're still running into issues, and then as long as it's playing okay and the saddle hasn't come up too, or the bridge or hasn't come up too much, then you're probably okay. Otherwise, just watch out for cracks, because that'll be the first thing that'll, besides the bridge lifting up, you'll start to see cracks in it. And that's the first thing any guitar shop's going to do, is going to humidify it first, and then they'll put like cleats underneath the crack and seal it up and stuff like that. But yeah, so you don't need to buy like a humidifier or something like that to actually humidify the guitar. Great. They also make these little, they look like flutes, and there's a sponge inside it, and it's just a long tube, and it goes inside the F holes of these arc tops, and that keeps it humidified. Yeah, well, that's the beauty of the carbon fiber. Yeah, I've never owned one, or I don't think I've ever even played a carbon fiber. Again, there's not a lot of guitar places around here that have a bunch of different um, types of guitars. Most of those smaller music stores are either have very, very little, and it's all really low end stuff, or they're just closing up shop in general. Um, what's the favorite guitar? Probably the Blue Harbor that I have. I mean, that's usually my go-to. I played the Phoenix a little bit last night, and honestly, I don't know if it just needs new strings. Probably, I haven't changed them in a couple months. It just felt a little stiff, and normally that's not the case with that guitar. I don't know. It just wasn't feeling it last night. Sounded good, but I could tell didn't have quite the output that the blue one had. And I was playing just, well, basically what you see there. There's the Space Echo directly into the amp, and I had a little tremolo pedal, just one of the Boss tremolo pedals on the side that I just go over and hit when I want to have a little tremolo. And I probably should put it down at my feet as a separate pedal board. I have a pedal board that I use that has like the tuner, Mystery Brain, the tremolo, and the Spring King reverb. But I do have a separate one of those pedal train things, and that I need to get a separate pedal board. I think I'm going to start working on, because there's a couple spots and songs that I play where it's like, I'd love to have a tremolo just for the bridge, and then click it off when I go back to the verse. And when it's back behind you and you're singing, you have to go back there and hit it. So, and I have this old Van Zamp Spring Verb, so I could put that on there. With that, I just use those clip-on tuners for the most part when I tune at the show. And the Gretches hold tune pretty good. I mean, once you have them set up properly, You get the nut filed right for the Bigsby and stretch the strings out. They hold tune pretty well. Considering. Definitely better than the old ones did. But keeping them in tune with the Bigsby is mostly due to filing the nut properly. You can put all the lubricants and stuff in there, and that helps. But that wears off, and it can create gunk and stuff inside the nut. It works, though. I do use it, but making sure you use sandpaper, like 600 grit, 400, 600, just fold it over and just slide, just get all those burrs out of there. But if you don't have, you know, actual files for the nut. No, the amp does not have a foot switch. I don't know if it might have had one in the early days. I know they have the have the companion reverb tank, but I don't know if that was like switch on and switch off, because this is 63, so I don't, or 62 actually. I've never looked that up. I never thought about it. Yeah, just standard Fender foot switch stuff comes up, but yeah, it looks like just there's no foot switch jack in that amp, so I doubt it. Yeah, a lot of the amps did. This one doesn't. Again, it's a bass amp, really. That's what it was designed for, so probably not. But that's okay, because um, just have a separate pedal board. Hi, Glenn. Thanks for joining. Yeah, so yeah, if I have that, then I can have that pedal board when I use the Space Echo, because it does sound good. Definitely get a lot of power out of that Space Echo compared to the pedal board. Although the Mystery Brain sounds really good. That preamp knob on that really gives you a nice saturation, and to get that with that same kind of sound with the Space Echo, you really just have to crank the amp up until it starts to break up, which is really what you're going for. Or you can increase the input level of your guitar in the Space Echo, but you have to be careful, because it's really sensitive, and just a little too much, it starts to break up, and it's an unpleasant distortion, and it's not what you're really going for. But the output on that thing is crazy. And to get some of the saturation, you turn the delay volume up, and that will yeah, it's working really, really well. I'm very, very happy with the overall sound. When I first got it, took a little finagling to kind of figure out how to get the pads and the tension arm just right for the tape, so it didn't drag and all this stuff. And now that I've got it, it's pretty good. I like the preamp on the Mystery Brain. It gives you a nice breakup. It's probably around, I'd say, I put it at about 11 o'clock, like 10 o'clock, roughly. Any more than that, it's too saturated, right? And it just starts to get dirty, messy. It's not an overdrive sound or anything. It's just it sounds like almost like digital clipping. Same thing with the Space Echo. If you turn the input signal up too much, which is kind of what they're emulating, I believe, um, it it starts to give you, like, it sounds like digital clipping. Like if I'm pushing an audio track too much in on a recording, it starts to break up. Not like the old mixer boards of the 60s where you could kind of do that and get a distortion sound. The digital stuff doesn't play kindly to that stuff in that same way. If you want to hear what that really sounds like, that overdrive, just listen to Revolution from the Beatles. That guitar, the single version, not the White Album acoustic version, but the single version, you hear that guitar come in. That's a mixer board being overdriven. That's not a guitar. That's not an amplifier overdriven or a pedal. They just push the signal into the board. So, yeah, I'll go over a couple of those little chords that I'm going to do in the video. So, one that I, for whatever reason, never figured out or never realized for a little while after playing guitar for several years, probably over 10 years of playing, and I never really thought about this, was just some of the movable open shapes. And you can pretty much move every open shape on the guitar, except for G. I mean, you can move G, you know, you can, that's really awkward and not something you're going to be doing all that much unless you use a capo or something. But C, we all move E and A all the time. Comes F and the B flat. The orange tremolo, Lord. Okay, I'll check that out. Yeah, because I see the orange amplifiers all the time, but now that I tremolo. Okay, I'll look for that next time I'm in a guitar shop. That line I usually see quite often. But the C is the D, right? It's very similar to the D, except you're playing the open string. So if you were to move the C shape up to the D, you would have to play like this, right? Which you can do, which is very similar to just, and if you lift your little finger, it's a B minor 7. If you want to find the relative minor, just move that shape up, lift your little finger. There's your minor 7. You're just changing the root. They're the same chord. And play the full minor, right? But there's another way you can play it, is that bar chord can be a bit of a stretch, but you can wrap your hand around it like this, and you're just muting the top and bottom strings. And you can move it around like that. That's quite a bit easier, I find. And it gives you an alternative to playing something like E flat, because it's the one chord where you got a low E here, and then you're stuck with this E flat, or just playing the top 3 strings. But if you do this, you can still get a lower register E flat without having to, stretch and play this crazy bar chord. Same thing with the 6 chords. You play a 6, everybody plays this, right? If you play C or this one, you play the full bar chord, which is a little awkward because you have to use your ring finger to kind of pad the 5th and the root here, the 5th string and the 4th string. So some of those keys, when you're playing a 6, okay, you're playing a 6, but it's really high register. It's higher voicing. You play a 6 like this, it's a little bit better, but it puts the 6 on the top, which can sound a little weird. So I kind of like to have the 6 buried in the chord, have the root on the top. just a preference. But another way you can do it is you play a C chord and you just move your ring finger up and you just play an A minor and just put your little finger on the root. That's a C6. And if you mute the top and bottom strings, you can move it. And you can go back and forth between the root and the fifth there on the bottom. Right? So that's a good way to do it. There's another way to play a 6 too, where it puts the fifth on the top, and it's this. So if I was playing a G6, you'd have that option. You'd have this, or that. All that's really high register stuff, but you can do this. So it's 3rd fret G, E, B, E. And if you move your middle finger up, it becomes a major 9. But and if you move your middle finger up and you flip your little finger and your index finger, it becomes a 7th, a D7. And you're just putting the 7th in the bottom, right? So that's what the video is going to be about. So all those different types of different shapes that you can use. Playing minor chords too. Play a minor 7 or just a regular minor. You don't have to do this whole bar chord thing. You can just do this. You're just barring the top 4 strings and then putting your second finger on the low note. Yep, playing the 7 and the C shape works well too. Yeah, and you can also bounce between the root and the fifth. So it's all right there. 6, major, 7, and the 9. Right? With the fifth on the top. Again, you can do the bounce. And another one, the major 7, or I'm sorry, the minor 7. Instead of playing this, play this. So it's like a D shape. B minor 7. It's a D shape, but you're just putting the root in the bottom to define it. Take it off. It's a D. Put a B there. It's a D minor. It's a B minor 7. And with that shape, you can just keep that same shape, move your fingers down a string and down 2 frets, and then you have a 7. Right? And so it's easy to do 2-5-1s or 6-2-5-1s. You can go from that minor to that 7, right? Whatever. And then you're just moving your hand around a little bit less. The notes are closer together, so the voice leading is a little bit smoother. And as opposed to trying to, minor 7, I got to jump way up here to play this minor 7. It's like, no, you just, play it there. And you're only playing 3 or 4 strings as opposed to playing all 6, which is not necessary. It especially if you're backing somebody else up, or even if you're, you're singing and playing, it It's just a little less, a little bit less. And less is more sometimes, right? So I find that sometimes those big chords can be, you're just duplicating notes that are already in the chord. You're not taking anything away. You're just, instead of having octaves all over the place, you don't really need that. You're just, it's just the chord. So it's a little bit more defined, I guess. As you have like root fifth duplicated all over the chord, and then one note somewhere on the top is the extension. It can get a little buried. So, and I'll change the voicings around all the time, depending on what sounds better in the progression. I want to play Angel Eyes Sinatra tune. We go to the bridge. Right? You can go, instead of doing that, I can go. Instead of having that higher register. Or and yeah, all those little. I know certain voicings, like I said, that flat 9 earlier. I don't like the way it sounds on the guitar, so I play it. Or if for some reason it's the most convenient way to play that voicing, I'll pick it with my fingers, right? That way I don't have to hear that. And that's another way to play the chords too, is instead of just strumming them, you can pick them. You can use your pick too. It's like, and that's how I do with something like Angel Eyes. It's slow, and I've got the tremolo going and everything else. But yeah, that's the gist of it, right? So you can always, there are multiple options. It's whatever sounds better to you and whatever is going to be better for the song and whatever gels well with the band. And I find that when you rehearse, you can play it one way and it sounds great in rehearsal, and then you go play it live and it's like, oh, that didn't really work so well. Just try it a different way the next time you play, or when next time you rehearse or whatever, and see which whatever sounds better to your ear. Some things just sound really harsh to me. I'm sure that other people don't pick up on it, but it if it starts to affect my vocal performance, or it's just plain distracting, I'll just change it. I might find that model easier online, but I can't test it online. But that's okay, because eventually I'm probably going to get some other kind of amp, because I did get what's it called? The Hot Rod Deluxe, I think, Fender. And it sounded good in the store, and it sounds good when I play it, but it's so loud and not really the sound I'm going for. Close, but not quite there, you know. It's more of a rock amp, I think. It sounds good with the distortion channel and everything, but I don't really play that kind of music where it needs heavy distortion. Like, I play a couple of songs that it would probably sound good on. When we do Sissy Strut or whatever, but even that one doesn't need distortion. That's more of a low, not too distorted. There's a couple of blues tunes and some funky blues type stuff that would be kind of cool, but at that point, just get a pedal, you know, if you really want that sound for one song. Um, but yeah, I'll try, see if I can, looking for something that sounds good that isn't super heavy. Like these things, two things, the cab and the is almost as heavy as the head. So yeah, it's not the most fun thing to do, carry that thing around. Oh, you can hear. Oh, that's right. Okay. I don't know. Yeah. I guess I could hear it and get a sense of it. Yeah. And then I suppose I could order it. I can order it from, you know, Sweetwater or something if I like the sound. And then if I don't like it, I could return it, I suppose. I've been doing a lot of these duo gigs and potentially like a solo gig. And so I'm probably going to get just one of these little, it's called the Fender Mustang. It's a tiny little thing, but it has a bunch of different sounds in there and it works well with the electric guitar because I have this Fender acoustic amp that doesn't really work with the jazz guitar or the electric guitar. It's okay, but it's like it has no life to it at all. It's fine for acoustic, but that's it. So the that little guy I think should work well with acoustic, but would work good with electric too. I haven't really got into the solo thing yet. I've been thinking about trying to do like I saw somebody the other day using one of those Ditto loop pedals, and I've been opposed to it for so long. But I heard like he's just playing the rhythm, and then you're singing, and then you come around to the turnaround and you hit the button, and then the rhythm keeps going, and then you can play over the top of it. And I don't know if that would work for this kind of music. Maybe, maybe not. But as a solo type gig. Other than that, it's just a matter of I'm more of a fan of playing everything for real, like Tommy Emmanuel does or Chet Atkins did or whatever. But that's an idea. You're playing. It's fine if you're just playing, a set of music and you have things worked out and that's what you're going to do. But if you got to play 3 or 4 hours, that's a lot of material to have in your head at that level of complexity. Switch to 2 tubes so it can be used at home without breaking your window. Nice. That's cool. That's very similar to there's a Mesa Boogie makes I think it's called the California Tweed. That's pretty cool. That does the same thing where you switch between the 4 and the 2. Yep, the Looper, the Ditto. That's the only one I know of. I have heard live anyway. I know there are plenty others out there, but yeah, between that and yeah, I don't know. I'll have to mess around with it. All right. Let's see. What other chord shapes did I have there? I go in over a little bit on the 9s, the 7s. There's this 9, of course. Everybody plays that one. That one. Then you can also play this one. And that's, again, more of a higher register. But the thing about this one, there's no root, right? I mean, you could kind of sort of do that or put the root on the top, but not a root on the bottom. It works great, especially. I try not to go too much higher than A, with it, unless it's more of an effect thing, so you can kind of do something like that. There's also this one too. Oh, cool. So you play with bass player, use a loop pedal for songs, and play blues mostly. I have a loop and see, one with a loop, and you go off into a lead. It's nice to have the rhythm still going. Yeah, it sounded when I heard this guy doing it. It's like, oh wow, that's pretty cool. So use the Ditto, or do you have a different uh, style pedal? Yeah, it's great to be able to have that rhythm still going. Um, I would imagine, especially for acoustic or anything like that, where you don't have the basement. The nice thing about playing with the basement setup and everything, the sound is so full, and when you have drums and everything going with the bass and the upright slap and everything, and I go into a lead, you don't. Some songs you notice the rhythm disappearing, but a lot of it you don't. And the rockabilly genre in general lends itself fairly well to not having to worry about that sort of thing. And the sound, of course, of the guitar is very full with that bassman and the hollow body. The combination of the whole thing really helps fill in that space, and you don't really miss the rhythm too much with that setup. But with the duo, I definitely notice it's gone. I totally miss it, and so having something like that might be would definitely be beneficial. Oh, basic. Oh, okay, cool. So you got the basic drum beats. Nice. Oh yeah, I've seen the stuff on YouTube where people loop songs in a few seconds and they have a bunch of different instruments and going on. Yeah, yeah. I like the idea of being able to go on and off with the just one, at least one thing, because a lot of the times these songs it might go in a circle, but it might not. So if I was playing, putting on the Ritz, I would like to do that. It's just a circle. You could And I guess you could play it. It records enough time to be able to do the whole song, and then just keep it going. Easy to use and sounds good. Cool. Yeah, I know they have the two. Well, they have three of them. They have like the little guy, and then they have the double. But that's the one I was looking at, and then they have the four. I guess you can put multiple loops together, but I'll start with the double one. That seems like enough. So I guess, yeah, I'm trying to figure out how it would go. Yeah, it would just go right into the amplifier, right? I think this guy had it plugged into the PA system because it was just an acoustic. But occasionally when I play with the duo stuff, I don't just play acoustic. I also play the electric guitar, and just so I can get all that stuff going on. But playing through you can't really play this through a PA even with pedals, and you can't play. Um, and like I said, the acoustic amplifier doesn't work. So having one of those little Mustangs and they're cheap too. They're under $200. It's about the same. The pedal I think is around the same cost. Let's see if I can find it. Oh, it's a little bigger than I thought, but still. Um, what's that? Headphone guitar amp. That's crazy. Yeah, here it is. That's probably not that big. It looks smaller than I. But I played through these for teaching. When I was teaching, and it sounded great. And for my situation, I don't know how loud that thing would get. It was pretty loud, and when I was using it, but we have to be pretty quiet anyway when I'm playing acoustic, because it's a hotel gig, so it's you're kind of in the background, but people pay attention because even the last time we did it, it was get we got a pretty decent response. And like I said, not bad. Um, let's see, anything else interesting happen I can think about? Um, I guess a quick side note. Nothing really about playing necessarily. It's just something that I saw the other day. Actually, I'm probably gonna wrap up a little bit. Wrap up soon here. I don't want to go too crazy with. If you watch back, I know, at least for me, I'd like to have. I don't like to have like hours and hours and hours of a video. Just kind of keep it a little on the shorter side. But you know, if we're having a good time, I don't mind going for a little bit. But I saw this thing. I'm sure everybody's seen stuff like this by now. If you're on YouTube, uh, often enough, you see this AI stuff that's been coming out with. Oh, there is football on today. What time does the football start? I'll make sure that I'm done by now. I can't compete with football. I've never been able. Music always loses unless you're the halftime act. Um, yeah, so people have been seeing I keep forgetting about football Sunday. Or has it started already? Oh, it started already. Um, cool. All right, cool. Well, anyway, real quick before I go, it's just something I've noticed. I've seen a lot of this AI stuff coming out. Yeah, yeah, exactly, stuff like that. The Beatles as metal, or the whatever, some Black Sabbath as if it were in the 50s, or in this case, I saw Zeppelin. It was the whole album of Zeppelin 4, the Zoso album, as if it were done in the 40s. And I listened to some of it, and I just went, it's cool. It's kind of funny to listen to. The Beatles is doo-wop, right? It it's kind of funny, and it gave me a chuckle, but it was still like, it's not the music though. That's the problem with that stuff. It's not like postmodern jukebox where they're taking the song and making it sound like it was a 40s song with the same chord progression, the same melody, the same um um structure. It is just the lyrics. That's the only thing that's the same. It's a totally new song. And most of the time, it's taking a song that was more complex and turning it into a simple 1/4/5, or whatever is the most common form of that genre that it's being switched to. Yeah, it's interesting for a minute, but then you start to realize, like, oh, it's just the lyrics That's the only thing. If it weren't for the lyrics here, I wouldn't know this was a Zeppelin tune or a Beatles tune or whatever. So it doesn't it's not really translating it. And that's where the AI is kind of useless for me to me because it just you can't really write songs with it. And you don't have any control. You're just letting the computer kick back whatever. And if for a joke, it's fine. You know, for joke songs, it's fine, I guess. But for writing songs, it just seems like they could be a little bit more. I mean, if you can make something sound that real with AI, wouldn't it be better? Right. Or Elton John. Yeah, Shatner covering out the birds of the Beatles. Right. So it just it would be better, I think, if the technology was okay. Well, here, I mean, they sort of already have this, but you put here's your melody, write your melody out, and then the computer plays it as a specific instrument you want it to be played as, and they have that with plugins and things like that. But it doesn't sound. You can still tell that it's a computer. You can still tell it's either MIDI or even if it's a sampled thing, it's not. It doesn't get the right flavor of all the articulations that you would get from a real player, and which is a good thing, you know. The technology's still not there yet, so it's kicking back just random nonsense, but or whatever the computer comes up with. But you don't have control to be able to manipulate the music or to be able to say like, okay, well here's a melody, write lyrics to fit that melody with a singer on the top of it. It can't do that. So it seems very limited as far as actually using it as a creative tool, at least at the moment. Not that I want to give him any ideas. But yeah, I mean, I have no use for it because I just make my own stuff, right? And if I'm gonna have horn players or whatever, I'm gonna use real people. I'm not gonna use a computer. Yeah, it gives non-creative people a chance to feel creative, but then it doesn't. It's not the same though. Not to me anyway. I mean, you get that initial buzz of feeling, oh, I created something. Yeah, but you didn't put the work and the time and the years of actually doing it, and that it's very fleeting in that way. And I saw some video, I don't know, the other day was somebody saying like, "Oh, creating music is really boring. Most people find it boring." It's like, speak for yourself. I think it's very entertaining, and I love creating music and write and recording. I love the recording process and the creation process. Um, you get the bug, and that's what allows people to create. You know. But I think ultimately it's kind of some people are freaking out about it. I don't think there's much to worry about because usually when it's a phase, I think a fad, I guess, right now. People who don't really create will use it for a little while. They don't really have the bug, the creative bug, so they'll get bored with it and then it'll just like kind of probably be used by businesses, corporations for commercials and stuff so they don't have to pay rights to anybody. But other than that, yeah, they're not adding anything. Yeah, they're not adding anything. It's just they're writing prompts and they're writing lyrics, to be fair. Some of them are pretty creative. And like I said, for the joke stuff, it's fine. But for trying to create a legit pop song with, or any song with um, AI, it's kind of silly. I mean, the perfect test is okay, use AI, but it has to be in a completely instrumental album. Well, where's the input there? Where's the create? You know, you're just saying prompts and saying genres. How would you're not going to see you're not going to see the Ventures as a 1920s band or the Ventures as metal because how would you do that with AI? You can't. It's music, not lyrics. So that was it's just something that I found online the other day and thought it was interesting and a little. At first, it was a little um, irritating, and then I realized, like, it's fine. Do they get to choose? I don't think so. I used Suno, I think is the name of it, once to see what it could do, and it's funny, you know. You sit around and have a couple drinks and come up with some nonsense stuff and see what it kicks back. But I don't think you can. I don't even think you can put the key in. So yeah, no, you can't. But whatever. Anyway, I don't think real musicians have much to worry about, at least not yet. And most people seem fairly hostile to the whole AI thing in general, which is a good thing, I think, especially when it comes to the creative arts. But anyway, I will. I'm gonna get going here. It's been fun. I'll let everybody get back to or get to some football if that's what you're into, and make myself some dinner here. So thank you guys again for hanging out. I might actually get to pretty chill day. Definitely this weekend. We have a longer weekend, so get to recording these videos and get them up hopefully within the next week or two. And still working on, of course, the podcast and the history of series and all of that stuff coming. It's just trying to get people's schedules together for the podcast, and then the history of series is more of a technical thing. So I'm just making sure that I can, it's interesting enough to put up there, but also it's more computer work on that part and program editing than it is actual, teaching guitars and playing on the, recording a video. So anyway, have a good one, guys. We'll see you next time. Enjoy the game. I hope your team wins, whoever you're rooting for. And yeah, we'll see you next time.